Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're going to be talking about building a summons deck for Final Fantasy. Obviously, the new Final Fantasy set is right around the corner, and with it, it is bringing new summons for Magic the Gathering. So these are going to be represented by saga creatures within Magic, which is something that we haven't really seen before. We've seen sagas that flip into creatures. We've seen, sagas that get animated, but this is the first time we've seen actual saga creatures, which is really interesting and really cool. So I'm going to break this down. I'm going to go, first of all, some notable summons, some commander choices, what to include in a summon or saga deck. But before I do that, I do want to quickly talk about what a summon saga is, because I know that there's some people who are probably new to Magic who aren't entirely sure how they work, or just a little bit of a catch up, just because we're going to refer to a few of these things later on. So first of all, we've got a few different things as a part of it. Up the top here is going to be its name. I didn't label that because I figured it was pretty obvious. These parts here are the different chapters, as they're called. As you add a lore counter, keep in mind you do need to have added that lore counter to trigger them. You will trigger whichever one it is. So if you've had added and then you've got one lore counter on it, boom, you're going to do this one up here. Typically, this is going to be on the turn you play it. You do the number 1 and then turn 2, turn 3, and turn 4 down here. And this is after your draw step that you're doing this. So your turn 4 one will typically, well, on this Bahamut here, it will typically then get sacrificed afterwards. So at the very end here, this is like their big finisher right before they leave the battlefield. Up here is what they'll do when they first enter, and then between there is whatever they're doing as they're kind of sticking out there and attacking. So there's a few interesting things with these. Obviously, most likely on the turn they come out, unless they've got haste, they're going to be on chapter 1 and then not get to attack until they're on chapter 2. And then, yeah, the last final chapter here, it will be as they're kind of leaving. As with most creatures, you've got the enchantment, the creature types down here. This is typical. However, on obviously these, they are in a different spot to where we're used to them, like, up here above the, right below the picture and stuff. We've got any keywords, like ability keywords. So this one has flying here, and then the power and toughness as with a usual creature. So yeah, there's just a few different kind of interesting things with saga creatures because they're new, interesting, different to what we've seen. Obviously, they're like big as well. Like they're very, very different. It's really cool. I love them. So first of all, let's go through some notable ones on each color. So in blue, I think I've kind of grabbed the ones that I thought were notable. There is others that aren't here, but if you guys think that they were more notable or should have been on this list as well, let me know. So this is Jill, Shiva's dominant. So there is like basically kind of two different ones, right? There's the ones that start similar to this one here that you've got like Bahamut, where it's going to come in instantly. It's going to be a creature, saga, and that's it. But then you've also got these other ones, which were ones from Final Fantasy 16. Actually, there's one from Final Fantasy 10 as well. However, I think they get sacrificed at the end, where on the front side, they're a normal kind of legendary creature, or I think they're all legendary creatures, and then they will flip, transform into a different summon saga creature. Some of them will transform back, some of them won't. However, this Jill Shiva's dominant does. So I really like these, especially within these decks, because one of the issues that you can come across with your, saga-based decks is that you're going to be sacrificing your creatures. You're going to have your creatures out for 3 turns and then they're gone, which isn't too bad for some creatures. We'll have ways to be able to counteract that, but for others, having them flip back into a creature and then be able to exile them and transform them back as well is a really cool thing. And I really like that idea there. So this Jill, on one side, she's going to be returning something to someone's hand. Great kind of removal. And then she'll flip over, transform after getting exiled. And then she's got make it creatures so that they can't block. And then finally tap all lands your opponent's control as she's kind of leaving there, which is really good. Stops your opponents from being able to interact on your turn and stuff. Kind of stops them with any counter spells or anything that might be really annoying there. Next up, we've got summons for green. We've got this Esper Origin. So you play this one as a normal sorcery. It's going to go into your graveyard, and then you can play it as a flashback from there, do the same thing again, and then also you get to exile it and return to the battlefield, transform as Esper Maduin down here. However, this side does come with a finality counter on that. That's one thing that we do need to keep in mind here as well, is that there is going to be some reanimations, bringing back your sagas that will come with finality counters. That means that essentially if a creature with a finality counter on it dies, or if a permanent with a finality counter on it gets removed, then it gets exiled instead, which is not great, right? We want to be able to bring them back again. But we will have ways to counteract that, which I'll get to later on as well. So this one here flips into Esper Mandarin here, which lets you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a permanent, put into your hand, which is great. Add 2 green mana, which is great again. But this final bit here is like a little mini overrun, which is good, like a kind of mini crater hoof. It gives +2/+2 to all your creatures, well, other creatures, and then also trample. It doesn't give it to itself, but it's going to get exiled at the end here, or sacrificed at least, so it doesn't really matter that it doesn't have it. We've got Summon Fenrir here, which does some great ramping at the start there, and slowly follows up by buffing up a creature when it the next creature you cast, and makes it so you get some big draw. And then the Summon Major Sisters here either gets to put 3+1 counters onto a creature, put a shield counter onto a creature and gain life, or it's going to fight something. This one also comes with haste, which is good. Again, that means you're going to be able to immediately take use of this first ability and then also attack with it, which is really good. Notable summons for red, similar to the Jill one from before, we've got Clive, Ifrit's dominant. The great thing about the Clive one is when you flip him over, once you transform him, on the other side, on his final chapter, he's going to have 4 mana that he's going to add to your pool. He's going to get exiled and then come back. If you have a way to give him haste, boom, now it's just going to cost you 2 to tap him, exile him, and transform him back again, which is good. You can kind of keep him in this Ifrit form for longer. He also lets you, discard your hand and draw more cards, which is good because then we can reanimate those. Really good. And he has some fight stuff in here too. I really like Clive. I think he's great. Just being able to filter your hand's good. We've got Summon Kujitar here. Does some removal. Makes it so creatures your opponents control can't block. And then draw and discard cards. And when you discard a creature discard a card this way, it deals damage equal to that card's mana value to each opponent. Discard a big 6 cost, for example. Boom, you're pinging each person for 6. And then the Summon Brunhild here gets you an exile card. So just being able to play a, essentially just an extra draw card there. It is going to sit in exile, but you can still play it. And then you've got the bit down here that gives haste to the next creature you cast this turn. As for black, doesn't have very many notable. You've got Jacked here. So notably similar to the other ones, however, where he, transforms. But this one here, instead of, needing to pay and then transform him, he's going to exile and then transform when he deals combat damage to a player. On the other side, though, down below, he doesn't have a way to transform back. So once he is turned into that Braska's final Aeon, he's stuck there. He's going to get sacrificed. He's going to go to the graveyard. You can bring him back from there. Great, but he is going to go to the graveyard. He's going to get sacrificed. And then on the other side here, we've got the Summon Primal Odin, which is really, really interesting. When it comes in, it's going to destroy a creature. On its second ability here, it gives itself, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. So if you can sneak this thing in with, there's some that tap down your opponents or made it so your opponents couldn't block and stuff, boom, now you're going to make it that person lose the game. We've got notable ones for white. White has a great amount. So the Summon Knights of Round is going to summon 13 Knights over the course of it. If you don't know, in the game, it has 13 Knights. And then at this end bit, it gives all other creatures you've got indestructible counters and +2/+2 until end of turn. That's really good. Summon Ixion comes in, removes a creature from an opponent until it leaves the battlefield, and then also buffs things up. Summon Yojima, discourages people from attacking you, exile something, and creates treasures. And then Summon Good King Mog here, creates some Moogle tokens to, serve as blockers for you, copies something, which is great, and then also puts 2/+1 counters on each other Moogle you control, which is good. Like, we're not going to have many Moogles, but with this, we can potentially create a bunch if we cast a whole bunch of non-creature spells on this turn 2 or 3, it's out. And then finally, we've got Dion as well. Dion Bahamut's bit dominant here. I wasn't sure about including this one, but then I kind of looked at it. It's 4 mana. it's going to come in, and then we're going to exile it and bring it back with 6 mana, and then boom, now it's going to buff up all your creatures, give them flying, and then finally destroy a target permanent, and then it exiles and comes back. These flip ones I really love. They're really great for this deck. Finally, for us multicolored ones, there's only 2 multicolored ones, but I do think that they're both notable. Joshua's Phoenix Dominance lets you discard cards and draw cards, and then when he flips, he deals damage to opponents, and then you get to return any number of target creatures with total amount of value 6 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Notably, that can hit Clive. I guess that's kind of thematic there, but also you can bring back so many of these saga creatures with this. You just got to make sure that their mana value is 6 or less, and then once he exiles back, you just flip him back over. Boom. And then you've got Terra over here who can serve as a commander for these decks because she's going to create token copies of things. She's going to also add a whole bunch of mana before she flips back over, and then you can almost flip her back over instantly if you've got haste. There is a lot of great stuff you can do with that Terra there. And then there's only one colorless one, which is the Bahamut that we looked at earlier. Destroys 2 things, draws 2 cards, and then deals damage to people. It's a really good one, in my opinion, if you have ways to be able to get it out cheaper or, you know, be able to ramp up. So having a look at the commander choices, we've got a few different ones. If we have a look at this, and thank you so much to my brother for kind of doing this up for me, you can have a look at how many of the saga creatures, excluding Bahamut, because Bahamut's in all of these because it's colorless, are in each color combination. So most likely you're going to look at, like, you know, 3 color combos, maybe like I'd say most likely you're looking at either 3 color combos or you're going to look at 5 color combos. So 5 colors, all up, you've got 28 of them. However, if you look at the 3 color combos down here, we've got Jeskai with 19 in second, but Naya actually has the most with 20. Bant has 17. However, Bant also has a lot of support for them and potentially one of the best commanders for them. Who knows? But, you know, there's basically, like, looking at all the 3 color combos here from like Grixis here up to Jeskai. The ones that have the most are Naya, Mardu, and Jeskai, because it's just that white and red together just have most of them. Yeah, I don't know. It's really cool. I really like it. I'm not going to complain. So looking at, like, all our different commanders, Tom Bombadil's obviously a huge one here. He has, as long as there's, you know, a whole bunch of lore counters on your things, he's going to have hexproof and indestructible. Great, protect your commander. But the best part about him is down here, when the final chapter ability of a saga you control resolves, you're going to reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a saga card. You're going to put that one straight onto the battlefield, and the rest go face down at the bottom of your library. So essentially, when your summon dies, it's going to go to the graveyard. You're going to get a new one off the top of your deck. So you're going to cycle through and get all your summons out really, really easily. Just replacing themselves. Obviously, you know, it doesn't care about mana either. So if you get, like, you know, the 2 cost, 3 cost saga creatures out early, then they're going to go to the bottom. They're going to get sacrificed, and then you get to bring out new ones, right? Which is great. You can only do it once per turn. However, it is each turn. So if you manage to proliferate on an opponent's turn, or you know, increase the lore counters on an opponent's turn in some way, so that way you know, finish off a saga, then boom, you can actually do it, like, you know, your turn, that guy's turn, that guy's turn, that guy's turn. So you get to bring out a whole bunch of them. That's most likely the one that people are going to go to for, like, 5 color. As for, like, 3 color, Una Grand Summoner is really, really great. She has essentially an infinite where you get to, if you equip her with one of the things that, like, costs blue to untap her, it just goes infinite, which means the next creature you cast is going to come in with an infinite amount of +1/+1s. But she also has this second bit. Whenever a permanent you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, if it had 1 or more counters on it, that doesn't matter what counters they are. So these guys have lore counters. So now, boom, all those lore counters are going to become +1 counters on a different creature. Really great. Definitely, you know, as if you wanted to upgrade the precon into a summoner deck, that is most likely the commander you're going to go for. Now, the one I am actually most excited for, and the one I'm going to be building, is Sigurd, Jarl of Ravensthorpe here. One, I love Naya. Naya is my favorite color combination. Two, he's got Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink, so he can make use of a whole bunch of things where you want to be attacking with him, because then you can pay one, remove law counters from things, from a creature, or add a law counter to a creature. So boom, now you can manipulate those law counters, get to do some really great stuff. Down here, this also has the fact that whenever you put a law counter on a saga, you're going to get to put a +1/+1 on up to one other target creature. So you can't put the +1s onto him, but any other target creature you can put them onto. Boom. I just think that, he's just a great commander for this. And I love the idea of this bard in the, telling everyone all of these stories that are so realistic that people feel like they're alive. And, it's just really cool. I really love the idea of it. As for other ones, we've got Xavier Sol here, Infected Captain. There is not a lot of these within Sultai. Green and blue, I think, have the least amount of them. But he does have a lot of really helpful abilities for them. Sacrifice a creature, proliferate, or remove a counter from another permanent. That's what you really want. And then populate. So he works really well with them. You've got the 6th Doctor and Ian Chesterton if you want a different band option. This means that, for the record, all sagas are historic. So anytime something refers to historic, it's referring to your sagas as well, including artifacts and legendaries too. But sagas is what we're more referring to. So with the 6th Doctor and Ian Chesterton, now, whenever you play a saga, one, you get to copy it, the first one each turn with the 6th Doctor, so now you've got 2 copies, and then you also have Ian Chesterton's ability where you can pay the mana cost again as you're casting it to create another token copy. So now you've got 3 token copies of the same thing. It's 3 copies of it. You could, it's actually really great. Like, Ian is great with these because you can now, copy some of the ramp ones at the start, or you could copy one of the big kind of finisher ones later on stuff. We've got Anixthea, Hand of Erebos. She's great because she reanimates them. She's going to exile them from the graveyard and then create a token copy of them. That's a 3/3. I'm a little meh on her, but she also has the fact that she's going to give them menace, which is actually great because now, they're easier to get in with them. Zur is good too because he's going to give them all Dex, Death Touch, Lifelink, and Hexproof, which is good. Now you're swinging in with all of your summons that all have, Death Touch, Lifelink, Hexproof, boom. And then if you've got other non-aura enchantments in here, you can also animate them with his second ability, or, like other sagas or other just any enchantments. You can animate them, which is cool. We've also got Terra, which is the one from the actual Final Fantasy set. She's great because, as I said before, she's going to allow you to create token copies of them, get a whole bunch of mana. But she also, when she enters, she's going to mill 5 cards, and then you can put one back into your hand. So it's like a, selective hand, as well as, there's a lot of reanimation that you wanted to look for with a saga-based deck. So being able to reanimate stuff here is good. We've got Yuna, Hope of Spira. So this is the one from the actual set. She has all of your enchantment creatures on your turn have trample, lifelink, and ward 2. Really good. But then she's also going to reanimate something at the end step to return 1 target enchantment from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Works very well with these guys. We've got Bellow. Bellow's hilarious. Bellow is absolutely hilarious. So all of your saga creatures, he's going to turn them all into 4/4 elemental creatures on your turn that have indestructible, haste, and whenever they deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. I love it. It's so funny. You're going to be able to swing in with these. They're going to be all indestructible and they're going to have haste. Haste is very important for them. And draw you cards. Now, obviously, he kind of turns them into 4/4s, which isn't as great because now some of them are like 9/9s base, so they're going to be 4/4s. You got to toss it up, right? You could have a 9/9, or you could have a 4/4 indestructible haste. I kind of like Bellow as it. I think it's funny as well, just having this this raccoon bard summoning these Final Fantasy beasts in. He summons Clive because why not? I love it. It's so funny. So as for my choice, as I said, Sigurd is the one that I'm looking at here. I was talking to, my brother about it. I was talking to Jack John Jackson as well, my other brother, about it. And I really love the idea behind him. Naya has, as I said before, the most like sagas, so like the most saga creatures at the moment. I don't think there's any more that are going to get revealed looking at like the number crunch, but he just looks really, really fun for it, and a very interesting one, as well as the one that he's not going to be, like, not many people are going to be building him as well as it. And my brother decided to flashbang me with this as to saying about how the fact that I don't want to use the most used commanders is due to not getting enough attention as a child or teen. So yeah, that's definitely not true at all. So some other support to include. First of all, we've got counter manipulation. You want to make sure that you got counter manipulation in these decks. Removing counters or adding counters, both are very important. I would more likely look at removing counters, especially when you are looking at these summons, because they are creatures. We want to keep them around for longer. So removing them with stuff like Scholar of the New Horizons, boom, now you get to look for a Plains card. Or Ochre, draw a card when you remove one. Garnet over here removes them and then puts +1s on her based off of the things that you removed whenever she attacks. If you've got 4 saga creatures out, she's going to come in, remove one from all of them. Now keep in mind, when you do remove a remove a counter, or remove a law counter, you don't trigger that ability that you just removed it down to. You have to, they only trigger when you add one on. So she's going to remove them, but then you get to trigger whatever that is again, as well as keep the creatures around for longer. Sin is great for this as well, because when he comes in, he's going to remove all those sagas, if you all those law counters if you want to, and then he's going to get freaking huge as well. Brago's interesting as well. I put Brago on here because flickering is actually great, because when they flicker, they come back in. It's a new object. It starts back at 1, like chapter 1 as well. So you get to essentially start that saga creature again, as well as the fact it sticks around for longer. Then it's good. You want ramp, because some of these are quite expensive. Ramp is really great with this. The Summoner's Grimoire is great because whenever you attack, you get to put a creature from your hand onto the battlefield. These are all creatures, right? Boom. And then if it's an enchantment, it comes in tapped and attacking. Again, double boom. We've got Summon Fenrir here, which gives you ramp, as well as the fact that it's one of the saga creatures. And then the Sanctum Weaver is just great because now you're going to get a whole bunch of mana based off the enchantments you've got. Cost reduction, there's a bunch of enchantment cost reduction, a historic one with the Ballad of the Black Flag here as well. We've got saga good stuff. I'd put this as saga good stuff, enchantment good stuff. There's a bunch of Enchantress, cards that you can include in here. You got Ian Chesterton, as I said before. The Weaver of Harmony is great because it gets to copy a target activated or triggered ability you control from an enchantment source. These are all triggered abilities on your sagas. Boom, now you get to copy that. Imagine copying the final one from Bahamut. Now you're going to deal twice as much damage to all your opponents, equal to the amount of mana of your creatures. It's going to get bonkers. We've got some stack stuff and protection. One thing to keep in mind is that you have a whole bunch of creatures that are very likely to die or get sacrificed. You really want some extra stack stuff in here as well, especially towards the start until you start building up your engine, because to start up your engine you need potentially your commander, you need a whole bunch of the saga creatures out, you also need first of all you had some ramp stuff, then you have some saga creatures out, and then finally you need your counter manipulation stuff out. You're going to have a pretty big board of stuff, whether moving parts and stuff. So you want to make sure that you can protect that. So Summon Yojima makes it so that people are less likely to attack you. Flicker of Fate, you get to exile something and then bring it back. So it's just a free flicker that protects it because you can do it at instant speed. So therefore, if someone's trying to remove something, flicker it and bring it back. Archon of Sun's Grace just builds you up a board whenever these enchantments enter. You also got Recursion. There is so much mass recursion, especially within white, of just return all enchantments from your graveyard to your battlefield. Boom. Now all your saga creatures are back. Starfield and Nyx returns something at the beginning of your upkeep, as well as the fact that it's going to animate all of your things, potentially making them bigger than whatever their mana cost is, depending. Depending on what it is. Like the Knights of the Knights of the Round, I think it is only a 3/3, but with this, it's going to be much bigger than that, I believe. Carmen, she triggers off of things sacrificing, which you do a lot with sagas, and then also reanimates there. You got board wipes. There's board wipes here that specifically only hit non-land permanents that aren't historic. Now, all your saga creatures stick around and all your legendaries stick around. Cacophony is a destroy all non-enchantment creatures. All your saga creatures stick around, everything else doesn't. And then Damning Verdict. Because all of your saga creatures are going to have counters on them, they get to stay, everything else is gone. Haste enablers are important as well. I'm not going to go too much into this. You want to attack with them as soon as possible. So let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and goodbye.